to sit up under the feet of the elders and to love them hard and to to appreciate them. A loving heart is actually, it's also a self, it's a self-preservation mechanism, because when you lose these people, you'll be able to have, you'll be able to have peace because you did right by them, and you loved them well.
Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones. You know what you're watching. Hey. Yes. You're watching Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones. Woo. This right here. Yes. Woo. Today's theme music is brought to you by Fred Reed. Y'all know about Fred Reed, Delaware native. What? Woo! Hold on. Skirt! I said, you're watching Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones, and that was Teach Me by Fred Reed. Oh, get your R&B vibes, get R&B bag. All right? Shouts out to Fred Reed. That's on all your streaming services right now. Anytime the R&B songs start with Teach Me, you know the energy gets you where you need to go. Now, today's guest. Ooh, today's guest. When I tell you, we got the man, the myth, the legend. Okay, he don't even do a lot of these. You see what I'm saying? But he runs the best, what I like to call the best. How can I say this? Library in the country. That's a fact. Literally has had everybody there. I'm talking about from Felissa Rashad. That's of a different world. That's right. To Michael Vick, Omari Hardwick. You name them, they've been here. All right? That's a fact. You name them, they've been to his library. You see what I'm saying? And as you can see, right, he got the whole thing flipped upside down. He came in here, start flipping things. You see what I'm saying? He come in sideways. They don't even know, okay, how he be rotating the whole game as a whole, right? Because of the things he done did. So now they say, well, listen, since you did all of that in Wilmington, Delaware, we might as well have you do it in all the libraries. So I said, what? I said, the president of the library of the Public Library Association himself, just fresh off of nomination, just pulled in today. Okay. Jamar Rahming, sir, how are you?
Very well, very well. Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Listen, I am honored to have you, sir. Oh man, I'm honored to have you. Your camera's good now, by the way. I'm glad that you was able to join us. Again, you're not somebody that people talk too much. I had Carl about a year ago, so having you now feels like it's definitely an honor to be able to have this conversation with you.
Well, if you had Carl, then nothing can top Carl.
Listen, right. I just need a side by side. You see what I'm saying? Like I done had now. We're just gonna slide over to you. You see what I'm saying? Slide over to El Presidente. That's what I call you. That's what I'm start calling you from now on. El Presidente. Okay. Now, tell people a little bit about yourself. Things they might not know.
Oh wow, things that they may not know. Well, I'm from Denver, Colorado. I've lived in 8 different states. I've been in the library industry for close to 20 years. I came to Wilmington by mistake. I wanted to return to the South, and so when I when I applied for the job, I thought I was applying for a job in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I didn't realize I was that I had to travel to Delaware until the day of the day of the Zoom interview. So I kind of got this role by mistake.
That's hilarious. All right, so let me back up a little bit. So how did you wind up working? Were you already working in libraries before you got here?
Yes, I headed a library system in Southern Oregon. I was the first Black library director in the state of Oregon. Mhm.
Were there politics to that? Like for you to be the first Black in that space?
Well, not necessarily, because the library industry it's a female dominated industry. And so Black men, we make up less than 1% of the entire industry. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Wait. Okay. Okay. Well, then let me dial it back a little bit more. What made you get into the library industry? Like, how does that happen?
Well, I was a little, I would say I was a mannish, little boy. And so this was before YouTube. This was before the internet. My cousins and I, we would stay up late. We would sneak and watch HBO because we were told that there'd be nude women on HBO, and we stayed up late. And the biopic with Lynn Whitfield, the Josephine Baker story, came on, and we just wanted to see it because we were told that she was going to be, she was going to be nude. And so we watched that, and actually, I mean, we were just being, mannish little boys, but we actually learned something. I mean, we did not, know that, there was a world where Black people couldn't, eat at certain restaurants, and we were just, you know, we were just we became enamored with this woman who, who had to flee and go to Europe for equal treatment, and she adopted, 12 children from a different race. She fought for the French resistance. She helped them defeat Hitler. And so I went to my school library, and there was not one book on Josephine Baker. So I wrote a letter in the third grade to a superintendent. And the superintendent was just taken aback that a kid would write a letter about a book not being in the library. So he put a book about Josephine Baker in every school library in Denver Public Schools. And so that piqued my interest in librarianship, because I realized that there was so much revisionist history, and so much of our stories were not being, chronicled, curated, or even available for people to learn about. So that's how I got started into the industry. And so when I went to college, I decided that I would, take this on as a craft and get a degree in it.
Wow, man, you was trying to see some naked women and wound up, wound up changing,
And you want to
changing the
hear
state.
something? You want to hear something very funny? Hey, we've hosted Lynn Whitfield twice, so I got a chance to actually meet her in person with clothes on.
I hope she doesn't know that story. I hope that she doesn't feel like you was trying. Listen, I was really trying to see you, and then guess what? It didn't go that way because she's not naked in that movie at all. So like,
Yeah, yeah, she was extremely flattered. She's a very down
oh,
to
you
earth,
told her.
very nice woman. Yes.
Oh, oh, well, okay. Shouts out to Lynn Whitfield. That is hilarious. Oh man. Now, okay. Now, I'm curious. So you get into this field of this library space. Now, mind you, what you're speaking of, I didn't even realize, but that thing is all over the country, right? That thing, and there are places, pockets where they've removed books from schools. They've like the revisionist history is big in certain areas, right?
Well,
So,
it's certainly real, because you have to realize, with Black people making up, less than 5% of the industry, it was an industry where you had white male and white females. I mean, they were the ones that were responsible for collection development and putting the books in the shelves and things like that. And so, of course, you need people of color to ensure that collections are diverse, and that there's a high level of cultural competency infused in the work.
ooh, representation, people, representation. So, okay. So now, how many states have you worked in libraries? What?
Eight different states. So I've worked all over the country.
What were some of the most fascinating places to kind of deal with or work in?
Wow, that's a very good question. Actually, I really, I would probably say St. Louis, Missouri. Because St. Louis, Missouri is a old, historic city, and there's so much, so much Black history. I mean, you have, that's actually where Josephine Baker was born, St. Louis. You have Jennifer Lewis was from there. I mean, a lot of legendary prominent people are from, Maxine Waters are from St. Louis. And so I just loved being in a historical city. And I headed, I was a branch manager of a library in the suburbs. So they sent me to an all, to an all white, community. And it was, it was interesting. I encountered, a lot of racism. I mean, there was a group of people that did not want us to offer, because at this time, we offered books on CD. This was before, the digital age, flourished. And so they said that we were being anti-American by offering audiobooks in Spanish for people who did not speak English.
Wow. Okay, so hold on, wait a minute. So they wanted to police, like they wanted, I guess, all the books needed to be in English. Who was pushing back? I guess it would be the government at the time, essentially.
Well, no, it was just an all-white community, and then I encountered a lot of internal racism because there were only only three of us Black managers in the entire system. There were 30-something libraries in the system, and there were three of us, and so the cultural climate was not accepting to people of color in leadership positions.
I'm gonna tell you what confuses me, right? My brain is trying to wrap my mind around it, right? So somebody goes into the library, they see a book like Fahrenheit 151, right? The book is there. They say that book, they say, is that book in Spanish? No. Like, or they see the CD of it. They say, wait, is this book on tape in Spanish? And then they get so mad that it's something that's not for them, has nothing to do with them, exists.
Yeah.
That they then complain to who? Like,
yeah, I mean they complained to upper administration about that, but we've gone full circle. Books are now being banned. Libraries are now losing funding for offering certain types of material, and so
wow.
intellectual freedom. There's been colossal threats to intellectual freedom, which means that our democracy is becoming, destabilized.
Yes. Oh, hold on. Put a pin in that. Well, not really, but kind of. We'll see. Because now I also want to know how'd you overcome some of the racism essentially in libraries? Nobody would think that racism exists in libraries, but it does, and it makes sense. How'd you overcome that?
Well, like I say, I mean, I left. I just went to a different state and did something new and better, and went to an organization that appreciated my gifts and talents and what I had to contribute to the industry. I mean, I wish I could say that I was this maverick that persevered and fought the system, but I just got up and left and went to something bigger,
I mean,
bigger and better.
Yes, I think there's something to be said about going where you're wanted and not going where you're tolerated, right? And I think that's really kind of how you approach that moment. Now, okay, right. So then you travel into to different libraries, figuring out your home, and libraries are not nationally ran; they're state ran. Are they state ran or nationally ran? Like, how's that happen?
They're different everywhere. There's some that are run by cities, by counties. There's some that are independent, that are funded by taxpayer dollars, and so it just depends on the area. It's different everywhere.
Okay, right. And you're bouncing around because, again, you now have a degree in something that most people don't, right? You being a Black man in these rooms, again, that just don't exist a lot. So there aren't a lot of you effectively in these spaces, right? And then something in your spirit said, I want to go to Wilmington, North Carolina. That's what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, let me ask you that. Did that come first? Did what happened was you wanted to go to Wilmington, North Carolina first, or you were just looking for a different place to kind of, because at this point you're almost a nomad. You move around. So,
Well, no. I just wanted to be near the beach. Wilmington, North Carolina is a charming beach town, so I just wanted to be near the water, and I just wanted to be near the water, and I wanted to be near good, delicious seafood. So,
I'm so
so no,
sorry.
I
I'm
mean,
only laughing so. You didn't get either of those things that don't like. Like, don't get me wrong. The beaches are about an hour away, hour or 2 hours away, depending on what beach you're going to. So it's not super far, but you are not.
oh,
It's not a beach.
oh, you know what? I got something even better. Wilmington is the best place I've ever lived, and the reason is because it's yeah that the people here are great. I love the community that's here, but it's also close to everything. I mean, you can vacation and travel without ever getting on an airplane living in Wilmington, Delaware, because you've got quick access to New England, DC, New York City. So Wilmington is the best. It's the best kept secret. So I'm glad. I'm honored and glad to be here.
Okay, right. Boom. Right. So now let's rock out. So now you arrive here, and you're like, okay, I know this isn't what I signed up for, but what was the transition period for you? Like, what was it like? Was it shock value? Was it like, what was it
Oh,
like getting here?
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because when I came to the library, I mean, there were drug deals being done out the library. There was a prostitution ring, and I mean, the library was in utter chaos. And so, I just decided that I needed to do something to engage the community in a robust manner to turn things around. And so, my team and I, we started canvassing the community to kind of find out what the community needs were. And to our surprise, there were a high volume of Wilmingtonians who have never even left the city limits, who've never even traveled to Philadelphia, which is 35 minutes away. So we decided that right then and there, that our mission would be to bring the world to Wilmington. And so that was our impetus in bringing in some of these, prolific people to our city, because we wanted to offer cosmopolitan experiences to a working class Black community.
Wow. Okay, now hold on. Now, by the way, in case you don't know, you're watching Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones, and I have the man, the myth, the legend, the library transformer, Jamar Rahming. He's brought several different amazing people, and he's also the president of libraries, public libraries association. Now, how did you? What was it like? Like, oh, and again, if you're watching this, let me tell you about Rodney Square. Rodney Square in downtown Wilmington is a place where all the buses converge to meet, and it is a big square where a large part of Wilmington is, like I said, it's the bus hub to a certain extent. That's where the Wilmington Library is. The reason why this is relevant is because when we say things, it can be around the block and down the street from the hood, from the streets, from the grit. And when he says there were drug deals, there was a prostitute ring, there was like yes, all those things are happening right there. And I wanted to ask, what was the process like to get that cleaned up? Like, how did you kind of transform those spaces so that it wasn't so riddled with it?
Well, we just did, just some basic, best practices. We tightened up on security, and we also just took a very offensive approach. We just decided that if we started offering programming and things that the community responded well to, that they would have an alternative. There would be other things for them to do in the library besides sell drugs. And so basically, it was just kind of as we started, being aggressive and proactive in our community engagement approaches, that by default eradicated some of the things, some of the unsavory behaviors that were taking place there.
Ooh. Hey, you back there in the back watching. Sometimes you should know. Sometimes positive reinforcement helps the thing. Like, it's not always just trying to stomp out the bad thing. Sometimes it's also replacing it with a good thing, so people have something to do that they can pour into themselves. Sorry, sometimes I like to talk to my audience. I want the people in the back to know. Oh, because that's phenomenal. Now, was there any pushback that in doing this? Because we've never seen locally, we've never seen a library that's as loud and prominent as yours.
Well,
Did
I
you?
mean, You know, the only pushback that we have is that we've just had events to where we just haven't had, we've been over capacity and we just didn't, we weren't able to accommodate everybody. I mean, our first large program was we reunited the cast of A Different World, and
Yeah.
we were the first to do that. They had never been together since the Oprah Winfrey Show, which had been 20 years prior. And after they came to Wilmington, they went on tour, and Netflix, picked them up. They're going to be doing a spinoff, and so, but that started at the Wilmington Library. And what happened was we had no clue we were going to get that kind of the reception that we did. We had event registration, and we put it online for people to register, and the event reached capacity within 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
we had a line that went, blocks, and to our surprise, majority of the people that attended the event were not people from Wilmington. People came from all parts of they traveled from different states, and the media came, and they were interviewing, people that were coming, and they were showing where they were from. And so we got backlash because, majority of our constituents, they weren't able to, come to the event. And, it wasn't, we had no idea that this was going to happen. I mean, our events are for, our community and our people, but we had no idea that people from all over the country would, would take this interest in a library event. So that's one of the, that was one time we got backlash. We hosted Dennis Rodman, and there were some people that did not want him in a public library because he, was an alleged, a friend of Kim Jong-un, a North Korean dictator, and
Yeah.
some of his, alleged lewd, activities. We got pushback when we hosted Angela Davis. Angela Davis is a self-proclaimed Marxist, so there were some people that felt like we shouldn't have given her a platform. And recently, we got some backlash when we hosted Michael Vick. There were some animal rights people that came out on the horizon, and said that how dare we host a dog fighter or a former dog fighter.
Wow. Okay. So Jamar welcomes the smoke, huh? Like, okay, like I'm trying to figure out. So the smoke comes, right? What do you do? Like. So then, are there? Is it were there ever protesters, or is it like how does that look for you?
No, there weren't protesters, but there are people that wrote letters to the governor and to congressional people who complained to me. But again, libraries are citadels of intellectual freedom. I mean, we are not in the business of censoring, stories and information. We offer books that cater to a variety of topics, and we leave it up to the information consumer to make the final rendering. And so we take that same approach with programming and experiential learning, where we're not shy. We don't shy away from having controversial people come and speak at our library.
Now, one of the things that's also interesting to me is the Wilmington Library, as opposed to the other libraries, and shouts out to Route 9, shouts out to Claim Mine, like shouts out to all the other libraries around here, but y'all operate independently. So
Right.
you actually have a little bit more like, oh, all right, y'all, you said you don't like that. That's fine. Like, you get a
Yeah, no, I
little bit
love that.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like to be able to do that and kind of manage it yourself?
Well, it's a blessing because we don't have to fight with bureaucracy. When you're under like a city municipality or county government, I mean, your primary function is to sustain bureaucracy, to make bureaucracy work. And with that comes a lot of red tape, a lot of hierarchical relationships, and a lot of policies and procedures. And so, us operating independently, we don't have to we don't have to deal with we don't have to deal with what's the word? We don't have to. Our function is not to sustain bureaucracy. We can exclusively meet community needs.
Mm. Beautiful, and which is so imperative of your mission and why you got into this in the first place. I think that's the coolest part to me. It like allows you to keep on with what you do right now. Okay, but I have to ask this, right? So Whitley Gilbert, right? Kadeem, you know, shouts out Jasmine Guy, Kadeem Hardison, the whole squad. They hadn't been together. How did you get them together? Like, how did, well, you and squad, but how did you and the team, how did y'all get that to happen? Like,
Well, you know, it was rather fortuitous, you know. I got in touch with Daryl Bell, who was Ron, Ron on the show. And he was able, you know, I got in his good graces, and he was able to coalesce the rest of the staff, I mean, the rest of the cast, and convince them to come. Excuse me. Mhm.
wow. So you pretty
And
much
so,
just put a bug in.
yeah, so I negotiated with him, and we were very flexible. I mean, we just said that we would accept any date that all of them were available. We didn't care if it was Sunday at 3 a.m. If they all said that it'd be Sunday 3 a.m., we would have made it work. We would have hosted them at that time, date and time.
Okay. Kicking the door, making a splash. At this point, you already had redone the artwork on the walls. By the way, if y'all ever get a chance to go to the library, that's one of the other things that stands out there. The art on the walls is just different. And then you get a different world in there, and then you've had so many prolific people there. What was your motivation or and your inspiration in making that Wilmington Library so different? Or is this something that you had kind of been doing in other places?
Well, I think it comes with the territory. I think it just makes good business sense to be, you know, to be different, because libraries have so many, you know, competitors. I mean, people are not reading recreationally the way that they used to, and people are able to satisfy their information needs, you know, on their phones. And so, in order for me to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars, and to you know, I had to reimagine, you know, libraries. I had to reinvent the space so that we can justify having a brick and mortar building, in a time where you know, most people can meet their information needs.
I'm very curious because you're the only library like this that exists, right, in Delaware, right?
Right.
What was it like? What's it like do you talk to the other libraries locally and have the conversations about, because it shouts out to them. And again, Route 9 does a lot of innovation, but they don't quite do what you do. And I don't know if that's intentional or why, like, how does that happen? Like, or not happen?
You know, I don't know. You know, they're under the county library system, and so they've got, you know, they have to follow, county, policies and procedures. And again, like I said earlier, they have to, their thing is to follow a bureaucratic structure, where ours is to meet, you know, the needs of the community. And our service area is 70% black. So we cater to a black community. That's why a majority of our guests are, are black, because we feel like in order to reach people, that our work must be, must be married with a high degree of cultural competency and cultural relevancy.
Okay, so now this takes me to this. In this world, right? There are factions. And I don't even want to put this battery in your back, but there are factions that don't want such diversity. Period. Let alone in something that can receive federal funding.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that? Like, or do you deal with federal funding? Like, is that a whole question for you?
Well, thankfully, I mean, we don't rely on federal funding. We get most of our funding from, from the, from the county, from the state. We get some from the city, and then we have a board of trustees that are, they're very aggressive fundraisers. And so we have a foundation that raises money, and helps us fund a lot of these large scale events that we offer. So
Oh,
the key to doing the work that I do is that you must have a high degree of you must have a militia of library advocates that believe in the work that you're doing and have a heart to serve the community.
Okay. Well, what's the name of the foundation, or this, so in case anybody sees this.
It's the Wilmington Library Foundation.
Got you. And that's where you get to things like Dancing with the Delaware Stars.
Well, yeah, that's our main impetus for doing those type of fundraisers so that we can do the work that we're doing, because when we bring these guests in, we don't use any taxpayer money to bring these people in. So nobody can ever say, I don't want my tax dollars going to LeVar Burton or Dennis Rodman or Rakim. We use all private funds for the guests that we bring in.
Got you. So it actually, you cut through red tape, because it's almost like, I don't need your money. Okay, I don't. We'll take your money.
Well, no. We need everybody's money. We're just, we're just good stewards of our resources.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that the guests that we've brought in, there's been a heavy return of investment because our work has enhanced the economic vitality of the city of Wilmington. Because when we have these large scale events, we have people that travel from other states. They book hotel rooms. They patronize the restaurants nearby. And it also has just increased the visibility of our city, because we will post these events on our social media page, and in the comment line, we're like, wow, I didn't know that. This is in Wilmington, Delaware, so we've changed the narrative of our we've brought national exposure to small Wilmington, Delaware.
Yes. And so here's what's interesting, right? So you got who came up with the Dancing with the Delaware Stars? Like, how did that come about? Because that became its own thing.
Well, that's not an original idea. You got the television show,
Yeah.
but that was a vision that I had. I saw there was a nonprofit organization in Denver, Colorado that did a Dancing with the Stars fundraiser, and I said, wow, that would work perfectly in Wilmington. So again, the Wilmington, the Delaware way is that you do great things. You do great things with strategic partnerships. So I developed a relationship with the Christiana Cultural Arts Center, and so they offer us their talent each year, and they provide all of our choreographers, and so we pair prominent and famous people with famous Wilmingtonians, Delawareans with choreographers, and that's how we pull it off.
Listen, that is phenomenal. It's such an interesting thing to kind of sprinkle in, and I just like to highlight some of these things. Also, something else that stuck out to me, especially because I work with Delaware Music Network. We do the open mic there first Wednesdays of every month. And one of the partners, even Shannon Lally, he's talked to the city before about creating these jam sessions post the jazz festival, and then at some point they were able to actually do it where the city did do the jam session and after the festival. And when they did the jam session after the festival, now by the way, the jazz festival, Wilmington Jazz Festival, is the largest free jazz festival. Yeah. So the largest one, and the after party started coming to the Wilmington Library, which was like, so then it became a jam session at the library. How did that happen?
Well, again, my whole thing as a leader is that, I have to justify having a brick and mortar building. And so I try to do whatever I can to get as much foot traffic in the library as possible. And so they were looking for a space to host it. And so the library is right across the street from where the festival is. So it's incumbent upon us to have some kind of, role and part in this. And so the library, the after jam sessions, we stay open till 1 o'clock in the morning, all 3 days of the festival. And the good part about it is that it gets people inside the library who are non-traditional library users. And so again, we're creating memories and experiences for non-traditional library users. And so these are people to where if we, if they ever had to make a decision to vote to support, library funding, they would be inclined to do it because they have an experience and a fond memory associated with the library. So it's just a form of it's an advocacy building opportunity. That's my train of thought.
Right, right. Okay, right. So you're building this foundation. You're doing your thing. What are some of your favorite moments at this since you've been here? You've seen a
Oh
lot.
man,
It's a whole different world.
probably the just the community impact that our work has garnered. Just to give an example, we hosted Anna Navarro from The View, and we connected her with with the local company with the local with a couple of ladies that design jewelry, and they gifted Anna Navarro with some of their jewelry, and she shared it with Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi Goldberg wore and promoted it on The View, and took a picture and posted it on her Instagram page, and that woman's online sales increased by 350%. When we had a different world come in, we let a young lady, share a jumpsuit that she designed with Don Lewis, and John Lewis, Don Lewis modeled the jumpsuit and put it on her Instagram page. And this young woman was invited to do fashion design work. She was invited to do fashion design work in Los Angeles. And then we have our, then we have a photographer. We have a photographer named Amir Lake, who takes all of our photographs. And we once, hosted, RuPaul, and RuPaul, invited him to, to shadow him and do private work for him as well. And
Wow.
so
Shout out.
Amir, yes, so Amir goes across the nation, and does work for RuPaul, and he covers all the, Pride festivals and all that kind of stuff. So he's a nationally recognized photographer.
Yes, yes. He actually told me that I have to refer to him as the award-winning Amir Lake. That's how he said it.
Yes,
He was saying the
yes.
award-winning. I gotta even use my hands. The award-winning E Lake. That's
Hey,
how he. That's how he.
Hey, but it's all about community impact. We had the rapper Karis One come, and he showed our community so much love. I mean, he stayed there at almost 9 o'clock at night, and he sat and had private conversations with almost everybody. And there was a couple called the Finneys who had designed this lyrical math curriculum, and they shared it with Karis One, and he invited them to his studio up in New York, and they did a promo video, and their curriculum is being sold all throughout the nation because of that experience at the at the library. We hosted Courtney B. Vance, who is actor and Angela Bassett's husband, and he wrote a book about mental health because his father had committed suicide, and we had people write in letters saying that because of that event that they went and sought therapy, and their lives were saved as a result of a library event.
Wow. Wow. Listen, I applaud those efforts. I applaud those changes being made.
Mhm.
Also, I do want to let everybody know again. You're watching Hats Off with your boy G Jones, and I only mention that right now because if you go in the archives, Emir Lake has been a guest on the show. I have talked to him. Go back and watch that episode if you like. Also, the Finneys that he's talking about, yeah, I've talked to them too. You can go back and watch that episode as well if you like. Listen, okay, so I kind of know the greatness that has graced locally some of those things.
Huh.
Now, also, one of the things I do want to ask, you also are intentional about local events being there and allowing this to be a space for local things local events and local things to
Uh-huh.
thrive. Why is that a part of your initiative? Like, why is that something that you care about?
Because libraries are all about building community and creating culture. And so any opportunity that we that we have where people can come together and do something positive, because there's strength in community, and there's unity in community, there's power in community, and we're in a world to where people are more inclined to be isolated and be at home and be behind screens. But when you're around people, you have an opportunity to influence them, you have an opportunity to encourage them, you have an opportunity to love on them, you have an opportunity to make their lives better. Isolationism is it's killing our community. It's crippling our younger generation. Young people have high incidents of suicide and mental health issues and all kind of things, just because they're not plugged into a community. And you think about Black people, um, all of our upward social mobility has rested in community, and being on one accord and sticking together and equipping and empowering one another to do great things in our lives.
Yes, yes, yes. I applaud that. That actually even goes in. Everything goes back to your mission of adding that level of diversity and representation in the actual library system. Emir Lake earlier, he commented and mentioned the speech that you gave at the Pride situation in Colorado, and those
Yeah,
sentiments.
and that was by invitation of him. He's the one that brokered that speaking engagement. So I came just as a favor, to him, and I was able to talk about, inclusion and librarianship yeah.
Absolutely. Now, okay. So now, right? I done talked about your favorite moments. I got your journey from Wilmington, North Carolina. I got we've talked about you kicking the door down and creating a different world here, literally a
Uh,
different world here. So now you said I'm gonna run for president. No, not that one. But you said, listen, Jamar Rahming, if anybody follows you on Facebook, they can know you might run for president one day. But okay, you you ran for president of the Public Libraries Association, even after seeing some of the negligence in certain places, right? Like, because you've traveled to different libraries, you've seen where the pushback comes. What made you decide to say, you know what, I want the big scale. Let me do this on the grand scale of things.
well, like I said, I wish I could say that I'm an ambitious, proactive person that aspired to be president, but that's not true. I'm actually I'm a lazy bum. Um, yeah, I'm a lazy bum. But what happened is at the Public Library Association, they have a board, and their board nominates people to run for president. So I was actually nominated, and so I accepted the nomination, and I campaigned, and I honestly didn't think I was going to win, because my opponent, was a Harvard law grad, has a law degree from Harvard, and has been active in all kind of, litigation for book banning. But I have a track record, thanks to Wilmington. I owe Wilmington, Delaware, everything as far as how my career has flourished, because they've given me this great, opportunity to serve. But I have a great track record, and I've created a model on how libraries should engage communities and serve as the social and intellectual and recreational hubs of the community.
Yes. So what made you decide to run?
Well, I accepted the nomination. I was nominated and I accepted it.
Yeah, no, but
Um,
what made you decide to accept it? Because that's, you said you're
oh
lazy.
yeah,
That's more
well,
work.
the thing about it is that, Wilmington is a very small city. I mean, we have 80,000 people. And so I owe it to myself. I owe it to the library industry um, to have a greater sphere of influence. I mean, my leadership has impacted, a small city, and so why not take what I have and serve libraries and colleagues across the nation. Um, and also, this is just a very cataclysmic, era of American history, with colossal threats to intellectual freedom, with kids not reading by grade level. The average American is reading at a sixth grade reading level. And so we're in a nation where we're going to, we're functionally illiterate. People are stupid and dumb now, and it's becoming a part of our culture. And so it's incumbent upon me as an information scientist to wage war against stupid.
Let's go. Let's wage war against stupid. I'm here. Listen, I provide that. That's part of the reason why I provide this platform. And granted, I've never said it that way, but I like to get the keys from the gatekeepers, talk flavor with the tastemakers, and talk change with the change makers to fight stupid. But I feel like it is difficult, right? And it's not something that it can get complicated. What's kind of your vision for as the president of public libraries in that space, right? What is your vision for that role for you?
Well, I think that I want intellectualism, literacy, and critical thinking to be a part of our value system. Because we have a constituency now, especially with most of our people are educated by, YouTube clips and social media mimes, and we cannot decipher between fact and fiction. And so people are being led by propaganda. They see something on their news on their social media feed, and they don't analyze it. They just like it and share it and move on, and comment on it. And what they've just liked and shared, is probably something that isn't real, that isn't true, you know. Uh, it's just easy to guess. Like everybody is so has given so much attention to this recent, controversy with, Shannon Sharp. Everybody has very, strong opinions, about Shannon, about Shannon Sharp, and people are quick to say he's a, sexual predator. People are quick to, to say he isn't. I'd like that same kind of, fervor with our political landscape, and with getting kids to read by grade level, and for us to have a well-informed society. Because if people are led by propaganda, I mean, you look at that's how Adolf Hitler created a whole Nazi regime, by brainwashing people and filling their minds with propaganda. And we are, as a nation, we're one step away from becoming a fascist society and eradicating democracy completely. And it's due to propaganda machines.
Ooh, they got the right one as the president this time, boy. Okay, they got the right one. Now, okay, now, but what are some ways that libraries can play a part in, as an informational scientist, as waging war against stupid? How can libraries kind of play a part in that?
Well, just like what we've done with exposing people to different worldviews, in a variety of things, and also creating a space where people can build community. Because when people are together and they're building community, they're dialoguing, they're learning about one another, they're stimulating one another, they're challenging one another. We have these speakers that come in. People are allowed to ask them questions, and there's context being added to their narratives. Just like with Dennis Rodman, there are people that initially hated Dennis Rodman, but when they came to the library event and they had some context to his story, they realized that Dennis Rodman is not this horrible person that's a friend of a Korean dictator. He actually believes in world peace. And so context just changes our perspectives, and it put these people in a position to where they did not, loathe people like Angela Davis or Dennis Rodman. They just disagreed with them. And that's a signal of a healthy democracy, when people, when we don't loathe each other, but we just disagree. It's okay to disagree. You know, because really the grand scheme of things is that we all, black, white, rich or poor, we all want the same things. We want to, want to live good lives. We want to put gas in our cars. We want clean cities and safe schools. We just disagree on the the procession, the direction, the course that you take to get there. We all want to arrive at the same thing. We just believe that they're just different paths and different courses that you take, and that's okay.
Yes,
But
yes,
what
yes.
is what has happened in the last 8 years is that we've become so divided and so polarized that we neglect, we don't embrace that we're actually more alike than different,
Absolutely. Shouts out to you for creating a safe space for healthy discourse, right? Sometimes that's
Right.
necessary. I think, and a safe space for people to find facts over fiction and feelings, and know the difference, right? So, okay, right. So now I have to ask this question. I ask all my guests this question. Well, no. Before I do that, what kind of books do you like? Like, what's your favorite? Like, when Jamar goes to go grab something to get his read on, what section do you go to?
Oh, wow. Well, I've got books all over my house, books all over my office. Let's see, I'm trying to think here. Actually, I am enamored with the Harlem Renaissance. So actually, I'm reading this book right now. It's letters that Zora Neale Hurston wrote, to other Harlem Renaissance writers. I'm just enamored with that period because that was a period of where Black people truly self-identified themselves. Because up until the Harlem Renaissance, I mean, well, think about it. As Black people, I mean, we came to this country and we were stripped of our identity, of our language. We didn't know who we are, who we are. We had no identity. And the Harlem Renaissance was an era of history to where we reclaimed our identity, and we developed our own mode of expression. And we did that through our creative prowess, through the arts. And we have a rich legacy. I mean, during the Harlem Renaissance, during times of hardship, we created jazz. We sang the blues. And you think about this demoralizing time that we live in now. I'm just amazed. I'm just really excited and eager to see what Black people come up with and create during this era of American history. So I devour just about everything I can during the Harlem Renaissance era. We just had an author come in, and she wrote a book called Harlem Rhapsody, and it's about a Harlem Renaissance writer. So I devour that. I try to read the Bible every day. I love to read biographies. But yeah, and I read a lot of Facebook too. That's been my favorite book here recently. I read Facebook.
So you don't mind some fiction, apparently.
Right, it's quite entertaining.
Oh, I am here for it. Oh, this has been a phenomenal conversation, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I asked all my guests this question. I'm very curious what you'll say. If you had, if you had to advise your younger self, right? Like, so there's a younger version of Jamar, right? Just little Jay running around, right? You know what I'm saying? Jay running around, being managed, whatever. Okay, figuring it out. If you had to give advice to a younger version of yourself, but the year is 2025. So the year is 2025 with all the 2025 things, but you're giving advice to a younger version of you in this year. What advice would you give to a younger version of you?
Well, I think one thing about it, when you're young, you think that you're invincible, but young people die. Um, I would say the advice that I would give to my younger self is I think that the Bible says to never owe a man, to never owe another person money, to never owe anybody anything but love. And I think that I missed out on a lot of opportunities to love people, a lot harder, a lot more fervently, a lot more passionately, and a lot more um, intentionally. And so I had a lot of, older aunts and uncles and great grandparents that they were telling me a lot of things, and they were pouring into me, and I didn't really realize, their, what they meant to me until after they were gone. And so my advice would be is to sit up under the feet of the elders, and to love them hard, and to appreciate them, to relish them. And so I would say my biggest deficiency and biggest regret in life is that I missed out on opportunities to love.
Shouts out to you, man. And wise words from a great man. Everybody, don't miss out the opportunity to love. That's a vulnerable statement from a black man, and I wasn't gonna say it that way, but I feel like others need to know that as black men. Like sometimes we miss those opportunities in general, right? People
Well,
do, but we do.
think about it. I mean, all of us, we have parents, and some of us have grandparents, and most of them are in their last, chapter of life. I mean, the majority of people die in their 70s and 80s. And when those people go, when they die, the only thing that's going to give you consolation, the only thing that's going to give you peace is if you treated them right and love them well. The people at funerals that boo-hoo the most are the ones who um, had an unsettled account with the person that died. But what will give you peace, and what will help you to cope well, is when your parents and grandparents and elders, when they go, when you can say, I love that person, I served them, and I did all that I could for them while they were living.
Woo, let them
So it's
cook.
actually
By the way,
so loving hard is actually, it's also it's a self-preservation mechanism, because when you lose these people, you'll be able to have peace, because you did right by them, and you loved them well.
yes. Yes, you know what I like about you? I can ask you a question and just let you cook. Like you just be at the stove with it. Like you gonna come up with something. It's gonna sound good too. I appreciate you. All right,
Yeah.
so now I do this on my show. Now I tell people if you and I don't think you've ever seen me do this. Ironic, because I've done it in your library a lot. But I tell people if you give me a word, I'll give you a poem. So what I need
Okay.
you to do is think of a word. But as
Oh,
you're
wow.
thinking of a word, what I like to do is called a quick hat tip. Blip blip. So the quick hat tip.
Okay.
Blip blip. Where I show some love, give some love to some people who did some dope things, doing some phenomenal stuff, making some things happen. So first and foremost, I want to give a quick hat tip. Blip blip blip. Quick hat tip. Blip blip. To Sarah Lester, Ellen Capard. They did Tails. Oh, they had the Tails situation where Tails is they did that Scout Cafe where people could kind of come up and just tell stories, share stories. People were just coming up at Shout Cafe, just sharing stories with each other, chopping it up and engaging. Right? I don't know if you have. I don't know if you've ever heard. Have you ever heard of Tales?
No, I'm sorry, I haven't.
Listen, I'm gonna let them know to let you know. Shouts out to Sarah Lester and Ellen Capard. Sarah Lester does this once a month at different venues. Maybe we need to get the Women's Library involved in that. But where people
Yeah.
just come up and I'm an improv artist myself. I've been there before, and they share stories. And Ellen was able to host one, and she's amazing with that as well. Also, a quick hat tip, blip blip. A quick hat tip, blip blip. Listen, I'm gonna shout it out right now. Weedstock, Delaware, they had a 420 festival, and they had me hosted. I'm not gonna hold you. It was a situation where it was 24 hours of live entertainment. Bands were banding. Okay, things was happening. It was a vibe. Dances was moving around. Shouts out to everybody involved. The sound people, Drew, putting all the bands together. Literally 24 hours of live entertainment. Aaron Poole, Kevis Fitz, and I was able to host Delphire, D, Normal, everybody who's a part of the legalization situation. Shouts out to them for that festival. I'm not even going to ask you if you know about that, but happy Easter, because I know that's where you was at. We're not going to talk about that else on 420 for you. Anyway, Don't even say that. Don't worry about it, Jamar. Don't worry about it, Mr. President. What I will say is, hat tip, blip, blip, hat tip, blip, blip, to Delaware Music Network and Gentle Jones and the Unks. Okay. And I don't know if you know the Unks, right? But I'm introduce you the next time you're there and we're at the library. The Unks come to the library.
Okay.
The Unks they're older gentlemen, but they got bars. They were over at the Opulent, hat tip to the Opulent as well. Gentle Jones, he's like, it's hard to describe. He's jazzy, he raps, he sings, Caucasian gentleman. You got to see Gentle Jones to understand Gentle Jones. Either way, I'm gonna introduce you tomorrow. I'm gonna introduce you to all of them. Okay.
All right.
They were at the Opulent, and it was live at the Opulent Delaware Music Network. They did a phenomenal job.
Wow.
So I gotta give a hat tip to them. Also, one last hat tip. Well, almost one last hat tip. Hat tip. Blip, blip. I said a hat tip. Blip, blip. To Miss Charlotte Miller Lacy and the MSK Center. What? The MSK Center? Yes, because they just unveiled the atrium and the brand new whole kitchen, the beautiful spaces. I just like the MSK for what they're doing for the people anyway, providing more of these safe spaces for people to come and go and create dope things. So I gotta give a hat tip to Miss Charlotte Miller Lacy and the MSK Community Center for their role in community. Blip, blip. And last but not least, I got to give a hat tip to you, the man who came all the way from Colorado here and been since his days of Lynn Whitfield. Watching, okay, transforming libraries, putting books in libraries when they trying to remove them, making sure that we have all the things. So to the man, the myth, the legend of Mr. Jamar Rahming, blip, blip. Yes, hat tip to you, sir. Anybody who you want to give a hat tip or a shout out to?
You know what? There's too many to name, but I see a couple of people. I see Alicia on here. I saw Maya Bellardo. Man, oh my gosh, Maya's craft has blessed our space immensely. I don't think she knows the impact that she's had in our community by sharing her gift and her craft with us. So I'm just so blessed that we live in the same city. So hats off to Maya Bellardo.
Yes. I always listen. I did a show in February with Maya, so it was a live show. We listened. It was beautiful at Christina Carlson Art Center. So I will always hat tip to Maya. She is phenomenal with a phenomenal vocal. Blip, blip, and I've interviewed her on this show. Go back and feel free to watch that one. And so that also means Miss Alicia Cooper Wells. Guess what?
Yes.
I gotta interview you. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
He said your name. I gotta bring you on the show.
Yes.
We gotta have one of these conversations. Apparently, you're next up, so we're gonna talk about that now. Do you have a word for me, sir?
Okay, give you one word.
A word or a phrase, whatever you got. I'm gonna make a poem. You give me a word.
I'm gonna give you one word. Pulchritude.
Pulchritude. Pulchritude. You would give me something that I don't know. What does pulchritude mean?
Oh, pulchritude means beauty. So
beauty.
You go outside and you enjoy the pulchritude of spring.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking. Okay, excuse me. I don't mean to be rude, and I'm not saying this in a way to be smooth, but sometimes I look outside, and when I see all of you, I embrace the pulchritude. Okay, yes. let me help you understand what I mean. In other words, nature can set a different mood. Sometimes they'll see people like me or you and decide before we get a chance to smile that we have to have an attitude. All of a sudden, I walked up, and before I chose to speak, they labeled me as something as rude. This is where I get confused. Like they don't know that internally I was blessed with a different type of pulchritude. Okay, let me help you understand, because it's not just about me. A lot of times they will misjudge what togetherness can look like as a humanity. They will try to separate you and me, because if we exchange ideals, then we will live idealistically. And they don't want you and me to be in a different place. They're too afraid of that type of diversity. They don't want that type of unity. Now that's pulchritude that they refuse to see. Oh, now they're only mad that somebody can go into a library and not just take a look and pick any book. But what they will also do is make this the world's living room in the position that they will assume will create healthy discourse that will cause something that will make us be married to progress and not divorce the internal things that they just want us to suggest. They want us to revolve around our own thoughts and be separatists because that's easy to make it us divided and not united as a front to get the things that society may need and not just what singularly one may want. See, this is what they want to do, because if we all get together and we are united in our moves, that is true pulchritude.
There we go. Wow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I hope I summed up some of the vibe of this conversation
Yes.
well. I hope I did it
Yes.
justice.
It was indeed a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'm honored again. This was phenomenal. This has been an episode of Hats Off. Anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Oh, not at all. I just appreciate their love and their support and continue to use the libraries.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Thank you all for tuning in. As I always like to say, love yourself first and everything else will fall into place. I'll see y'all next week.
Okay.